Hello friends, welcome back. I'm Beth, here to help you fulfill your potential in meditation. As most of you know, I don't have just one method that I teach to everybody, like one size fits all. Instead, I much prefer to teach people one-on-one. And the reason is that you're all different. So please use these videos as a guideline, and if there's anything that isn't quite working for you, anything that doesn't quite fit, then be in touch and I'll be more than happy to discuss those things with you one-on-one. Today's video is about what to do when sleepiness arises in meditation. I'm not sure if any of you have had the experience where you're meditating and you're falling asleep or you're nodding in your practice. It's something that most meditators experience from time to time. So when we're considering what to do about sleepiness in the practice, the first thing that we need to understand is where is that sleepiness coming from? Sleepiness arises in the practice for a bunch of different causes, and depending on its cause, we need a slightly different response. So the first obvious cause for sleepiness in meditation is that we're tired. Many of us are leading lives that are really tiring, and so of course when we come to meditate, it's normal that we might be sleepy. If you find yourself overtired and still trying to meditate, then the advice that I usually give is to go and get some sleep. Prioritize getting enough sleep over meditation. So for example, if you need to get 8 hours sleep a night, then don't wake yourself up 2 hours early, get only 6 hours sleep a night and cram in 2 hours of meditation in the early morning. Get enough sleep first and then meditate. Otherwise we'll find ourselves falling asleep in our meditation, getting frustrated, not getting enough sleep and not meditating well either. As a good rule of thumb to decide whether or not we're really tired and we need to sleep, or whether or not it might be something else that's making us sleepy, I usually suggest to people to try reading a few pages of a pretty boring book. And if you can read a few pages of a fairly boring book without falling asleep, then probably you're not too tired. Probably you've had enough sleep. If you find yourself falling asleep as you read, then probably you do just need to get a little bit more sleep. But if when you read you're not falling asleep, you've had enough sleep, but when you sit down to meditate, you still find yourself getting sleepy, it might be that something else is going on. The next cause of sleepiness is what I would call a general lethargy. This might be because you've eaten too much, maybe you're feeling a bit too hot, you've done a lot of meditation that day and you're not very enthusiastic about doing any more. This is the kind of sleepiness and lethargy in the body that we can overcome. If we were engaged in something that we found interesting, we'd wake ourselves up. But because the meditation can be quite subtle or quite repetitive, it's easier to fall asleep. If this is the case, if you're suffering from a general kind of lethargy, then there are some little tricks that we can bring in. The Buddha suggested, for example, bringing the perception of light into our practice. So we might want to open our eyes a little bit to continue our meditation. We might want to just open our eyes for a few seconds, look at the sun, not directly, but maybe through the window, and then close our eyes again and start the practice. Another thing that can really wake us up is the perception of danger. So for example, if you sit on a high wall where you could fall off and meditate, you're much less likely to get sleepy. And a final, strange, but sometimes strangely effective solution to this general lethargy, the Buddha suggested to pull your ears, have a little tug on your earlobes, and apparently that's supposed to be a great solution to wake us up a bit. If you've already tried all those things, you've tried the perception of light, you've tried the perception of danger, you've had a good old pull on your ears and you're still sleepy in meditation, then it could be that you're avoiding something. Oftentimes where there's something unpleasant happening in our meditation, we'll fall asleep as a way to not face it, as a way to disengage. It might be there's pain in the body, it might be there's a painful emotion that's coming up, it might be there's thoughts that we don't want to face. So something unpleasant in the practice that we don't want to bring our awareness to is causing us to fall asleep as a form of avoidance. If this is what is happening to you, then what we need to do is bring our acceptance and our embrace to that uncomfortable thing. We need to welcome that thing that we're avoiding directly into the front of our awareness, welcome it as a friend, practice loving kindness on it, give it a great big hug. In this way, we won't need to avoid it with our sleepiness. We'll be back on the path of progress. If you've tried all of the things that I've mentioned so far and you're still getting sleepy in your practice, then it could be that you're practicing with a meditation object that is too subtle. So when we come to meditation, we want to be practicing with a meditation object that's just a little bit more subtle than where our mind is at. So if our mind is a little bit distracted, we want a meditation object that's just a bit more gentle. In that way, when we focus on it, our minds calm down to meet this more subtle object. So this is how our practice deepens, by focusing on an object that is more calm than our mind. But if we're focusing on a meditation object that is too subtle, too calm, too gentle, then we find that our distracted mind can't find it. Our distracted mind can't find that very gentle object without making a lot of effort. When this gap is too big and our meditation object is too subtle, one of two things will happen. Either we'll get lost in distraction, in wandering thought, we'll start thinking about something else, or we'll start falling asleep. We'll start nodding in our practice. Our mind can't find the object, and so it goes to no object, it falls asleep. So if that's what's happening in your meditation, then temporarily you need to take a more coarse object of focus. So you can find ways to make your meditation object more attention grabbing, more engaging. Or for a few minutes you can change to a different type of meditation that's less subtle. So those are some tips on how to overcome sleepiness in the practice. Now is the time to get off of the screens. Screens tend to actually make us more sleepy, they tire the mind, so get off of those, they're part of the problem. Get onto the meditation cushion and start practicing. When you find sleepiness arising, see if any of these tips work for you. If you're encountering difficulty, if anything isn't working for you, be in touch and I'll be happy to discuss those things with you individually. As most of you know, I do all of my work on a donation basis, so I encourage you to support me either through Patreon or through my website. You can find out about how to do that just underneath this video. Thank you so much for your support. Wishing you the best with your meditation.